MMI Holdings is a South African-based financial services group with a market cap of around 33 billion rand, which was formed from the 2010 merger of Metropolitan and Momentum. The group provides long and short-term insurance, asset management, healthcare administration, and employee benefits. MMI has a price-to-earnings ratio of 14.4 and a dividend yield of 8.4%. And having recently interviewed Nicholas Kruger, it looks as though they've got their act together. The merger is now bedded down, and they're starting to extract synergies across the group.
Correct, and you see that in the share price performance as well. The market has liked the synergies they got through combining Metropolitan and Momentum. Also, a very high dividend yield. They paid a special dividend after the last results. And as Paul mentioned earlier, a lot of these insurers are exposed to the equity market. They've decided to de-risk themselves, rather have fixed income instruments and go for cash rather than equity exposure. And they've benefited from that.
Having come from your being relatively negative on Liberty, does Momentum redeem itself as a player that strikes your interest?
It's an interesting combination because obviously the Momentum Group was something built in the Centurion area by those Rand Merchant Bank guys. You know, sharp, well organized, and they targeted the sort of upper end market in the Gauteng environment. And then you've got Metropolitan, which is more sort of funeral insurance, lower end, different sales force. So an interesting combination, and it's just one of the various pieces that were going around. And accordingly, you know, they put it together. It's sizable. I think it gets more attention over time. Always when you put new businesses together, it takes people a while to work out, hey, what's in here and how much money do they make and how many shares are there.
But that's done now. Isn't that done now?
It's starting to, and the year-on-year comparisons are now valid. You know, before you've got to look at pro forma stuff and try and work out what the heck's going on. But I think that's why it's kind of come to a new level. I mean, Momentum, well, the fees that people get charged in there for those pension administration products makes me slightly sick to the gills. But
Jean-Pierre, is that a fair criticism of MMI?
Well, if you look at the reduction in yield of pension fund administration and the selling of pension fund investments, I must say I think the regulators will look into that, and some of these companies could be exposed to some regulatory risk if they start to clamp down on the cost of saving in South Africa.
Did we chat about embedded value?
We haven't. So in the case of MMI, the embedded value is around the current levels, around 20 Rand a share. But the difference here is you get a lot of cash. Less equity market exposure. That cash gets distributed to shareholders. That's why it's on a very high dividend yield. They might pay another special dividend in the coming year. But that means on the one side you get less cyclical earnings. On the other side you probably get less growth as well.
Hot or not on MMI?
not hot for me.
Jean-Pierre, hot or not, MMI?
Also not hot.